Violet, Klaus, and Sunny are three special kids who live in a huge castle with their parents. While the oldest child, Violet, is very good at inventing things, the second child, Klaus, is a big fan of books. However, their baby sister, Sunny, is pretty good at biting things. One day, while the children are playing around by a lake, a man named Mr. Poe gives them the bad news about their parents, who have died in a fire at the house. The three kids are left shocked by the news, and after a while, Poe takes them to see what's left of their house. As they walk around the house, the kids look very sad as they realize that their parents are truly gone, with no credible information as to what caused the fire. As Klaus looks around the house, he sees a spyglass in his father's drawer and looks surprised as he starts to wonder if there were things their parents didn't tell them about. A while later, Poe takes them away from the house, and while driving them, he says that since he's the personal assistant to their parents, it's his responsibility to take them to their guardian. While the kids look confused, since they never really met any other family members, Poe says he's taking them to meet an actor named Count Olaf. Even though he says that Olaf is not directly related to them, Poe tells them they'll be safe with him. As they arrive at the house, the children meet a lady named Strauss, who looks happy to see them. After she says sorry to them for what happened to their parents, Violet asks if she's staying with Olaf. Strauss looks surprised to hear this and tells them that Olaf is her neighbor. As the kids then see Olaf's house, they don't seem to like it because it looks old and scary. When they reach the front door, it unlocks by itself, and Poe takes the children inside. Just as the kids look around, Olaf welcomes them in and introduces himself as their relative. Following this, he greets the kids by calling their names, which he actually wrote in his palm so he can remember. Despite this, he says he's happy to have them around, but it turns out his real intention is to get the fortune that comes with taking care of the children. He asks where he's supposed to sign for their custody, but Poe says he's not eligible for that until a judge legally grants him custody in a few days. Just as Olaf leads him out, Poe tells the children that he'll always be in contact with them and that they can call him if there's any issue. As Olaf closes the door, he tells the kids that even though his house is not as fancy as their old house, he's working on making it better after he receives the fortune he's expecting. He then shows the kids around the house and warns them never to go into the tower at the top. He eventually shows them to their room and tells the kids to go to bed. Violet says it's not dark yet, but he insists that they stay indoors. Just as they look around their new room, they see that it's even worse than they could have imagined. They manage to stay there for the first night, but in the morning, Olaf gives them a long list of chores to start their day with. After a while, he returns home with his acting troupe and asks why the kids are yet to make dinner. The kids look shocked to hear this, but Olaf says it was also on the list he gave them. When they see it, Violet and Klaus tell Olaf that they've never made dinner before and they don't know what to do, but he still insists that they head to the kitchen. Violet and Klaus eventually find some pasta in the drawer, and after trying their best, they serve the food on the table. Following this, they call Olaf and his friends to come to the table, saying they've made pasta. However, Olaf says he's not interested in their pasta because he wants roasted beef. Violet says they didn't know what he wanted, but this seems to get him angry. He tells the kids that they need to start behaving well, and he's only patient because he's waiting for the fortune he'd get for taking them in. Klaus tells him that he won't get anything until Violet turns 18, and this leaves him shocked. As Sunny then starts making funny sounds, Olaf picks her up and says that the kids need to start respecting him. Klaus tells Olaf to drop his sister, but he gets slapped in the face. Violet is unhappy with this, and she snatches Sunny from Olaf. As the kids then say they'll report Olaf to Poe, he takes them to their room and locks them in. After a while, Klaus tries to break the window to escape, but Violet convinces him not to do it. He then says he's not happy with what's happening to them. He also blames their parents for not having a plan for them. However, Violet tells him that their parents cannot be blamed because what happened was unexpected. The next morning, Olaf is officially granted custody, and after he leaves the court with the children, he tells them he's sorry for how he has been acting toward them. He says he wants to make it up to them, and to start with, he stops at a store and says he'll get them something. As he walks into the store, he locks the car, leaving the children shocked as to why he would do that. Just then, Violet sees a book inside Olaf's car and realizes that he has been reading about inheritance laws. She also finds a paper in the middle of the book, and as she and Klaus see that it contains train schedule times, they discover that Olaf parked the car on a train track. Immediately, They start trying to find a way to leave the car before the train passes. Violet also sees a phone in the car and calls Poe to inform him of what's happening, but he's unable to hear clearly because the train is passing right next to his car. The call eventually ends, and as the kids think of what to do, Klaus remembers some of the things he had read about trains. He then devises a plan to use the track switcher to redirect the train's course. The kids are able to improvise with some objects in the car, and just as the train approaches them, Violet succeeds in switching the train track. Meanwhile, Olaf looks excited to see the train passing, but as he doesn't hear a crash, he figures out that the kids are fine. Poe arrives at the store only to see Sonny in the driver's seat, leaving him shocked because of how risky it is. He picks up the kids and says he's taking them away, even though Olaf begs to keep them. As Poe says he's not sure Olaf is the right person to take care of the kids, Olaf tells the kids that he'll still look for them no matter where they end up. With that, Poe takes the children to the house of a scientist named Monty, who seems nice and says the last time he saw the kids was when they were very small. Shortly after, Poe leaves, and Monty takes the children inside the house. He then says they'll help him pack his things because he's traveling to Peru the next day. The kids are shocked to hear this, but Monty then shows them around the house to see his reptile room. He also shows them a rare snake, which he calls a deadly viper. Even though the snake tries to attack the kids, Monty says it's one of the friendliest creatures in the world, and that he only calls it deadly so that people who want to steal the snake get scared of it. Shortly after, Violet asks why they have to go to Peru, and he says he just needs a change of scenery. As he flips his coat, Klaus sees him with a spyglass similar to the one at their house, but when he asks about it, Monty says he'll answer all their questions during the trip to Peru. Much later, he also tells the kids that he once had a family until they died in a fire. As the kids hear this, they look shocked, but Monty tells them not to be worried. After a while, a man comes to the house saying he's standing in for Monty's assistant, but the kids quickly figure out that it's Olaf. However, Monty welcomes the man in, even when the kids try to explain what's happening. With this, Violet and Klaus decide to send a secret message to Monty through the snake to inform him that Olaf is the man posing to be his assistant. Luckily, Monty sees the message but thinks Olaf is there to steal his rare snake. The kids try to explain things to him, but before they can tell him much, Olaf suddenly interrupts them and advises Monty to let them go to bed. The kids are unhappy as they head to their room, and in the morning, when they wake up, they discover that Monty has been killed. A police constable comes to the scene to investigate what happened, but Olaf says the deadly viper was what killed Monty. Violet says it's impossible because the snake is friendly, but the constable doesn't believe what she's saying. As Violet and Klaus try to convince the constable, Sonny sees the deadly viper heading into the reptile room and follows it. Poe soon shows up, and as the kids tell him that Olaf is the one posing to be Monty's assistant, he says they're only making things up. Shortly after, they hear Sonny laughing, and as they look at her, they see that she's playing with the deadly viper. Before they can turn back, they see that Olaf has escaped since his cover is now blown. Poe says sorry to the kids for not believing their story, and much later, he takes them to another guardian. He drops them off just by a lake, with an address to the house of a woman named Josephine. When they get to the house, Josephine recognizes the kids and looks happy to see them, but she turns out to be a very paranoid person. Aside from being scared that everything around her could soon fall apart, she also says that grammar is the most important thing in life. While she's eating at the table with the kids, she offers to show them some pictures, and as the kids look at them, they see the pictures of Josephine's late husband. They also see a group picture of their parents with Monty, Josephine, and some other people. Klaus notices that they all have spyglasses with them, so he asks Josephine if they were all part of a club. However, she just collects the album from them and continues eating. This makes Klaus ask if her husband died in a fire, but she says he was killed by leashes near a cave across the lake. After a while, they all leave the house to shop for groceries. In the process, they meet a man who also turns out to be Olaf, posing as someone else. The kids try to tell Josephine about him, but he charms her with his words. Just then, Olaf convinces her to take him to her house, while the kids finish up with the shopping. As Olaf and Josephine leave, the kids discover that there could be more to what they know about their parents. They also decide to do something to help Josephine before Olaf kills her. When they get home, they see a broken glass and a suicide note left by Josephine. As Klaus reads it, he discovers that she made several grammatical errors in the note, and for a while, he thinks Olaf might have written the note. However, he eventually realizes that the grammatical errors are meant to help them decode a secret message. After Klaus decodes it, he figures out that Josephine is hiding in a nearby cave. Before they can decide what to do next, a huge storm hits, and parts of the house start to break off. As they run to safety, they enter a room where they see several pictures of fire outbreaks. With this, they discover that Josephine's husband was investigating fire outbreaks before he died. They also find the drawing of a structure that looks like an eye, and Klaus keeps it with him. Even though the house continues to fall apart, the kids are eventually able to avoid getting killed. They then decide to go to the cave in a boat. As they get there, they find Josephine, who says she's happy the kids figured out where she was. She says Olaf forced her to write the note, after which he tried to kill her, but she escaped. Even though she doesn't want to leave the cave, the kids convince her and she follows them. While paddling their way back, Klaus shows Josephine the picture of the eye he took from the house. Violet also asks why her husband was investigating fire outbreaks, and just then, she confesses that she was part of a group with Monty and their parents. She says they were investigating the fires because an unknown person was setting people's houses and other places on fire using a strange method. As the kids ask her if Olaf was responsible for the fires, she changes the subject and says they should have stayed in the cave. Almost immediately, she spots some leashes approaching them. Even though they try to paddle away quickly, the leeches get to them. As they're being attacked, Olaf shows up, saying he's there to rescue the kids. After he does this, he leaves Josephine in the boat, and even though she begs him, Olaf leaves her behind for the leeches to feed on. Before he can leave with the kids, Poe and the constable arrive at the scene. They ask what happened, and Olaf says he just rescued the kids from the leeches. Poe believes this and says he's sorry for not trusting Olaf earlier. Poe also says he will hand over the kids to Olaf again. Olaf looks excited and then talks about the inheritance, but Poe says if anything had happened to the kids, he wouldn't have gotten anything. Since his entire plan centers on killing the kids after he gets their fortune, he immediately comes up with another plan he found in his book on inheritance law. He invites Poe and the constable for his next play, which turns out to be a prop to get Violet legally married to him so he can get the family fortune. Klaus tells Violet about this, but she says it's impossible since it's only a play. Olaf hears them and says he's getting a real lawyer to join them. He introduces them to Strauss, who turns out to be a real lawyer. He reminds her that she has to do things as she would normally do for a real wedding, and this gets her excited as she thinks she's there to make her acting debut. Olaf also says that if Violet refuses to marry him, he'll let Sunny down from the top of the tower in his house. As Violet and Klaus see Sunny in a cage, they realize that Olaf is serious about what he's saying. When Olaf leaves, Klaus tells Violet not to go through with the wedding, but she says she can't let anything happen to Sunny. The play soon starts, and Violet is introduced as Olaf's wife-to-be. Meanwhile, Klaus devises a plan to save Sunny on his own. As the wedding scene starts, Olaf forces Violet to cooperate, and she plays along. Just as she's about to sign the marriage certificate, which also happens to be part of the play, Violet sees Klaus saving Sunny, so she writes slowly. As Klaus looks for the key to Sunny's cage, he sees the eye from the picture he found at Josephine's house. As the sun also rises, he sees that the eye is what Olaf uses to cause the fires. Just as Klaus thinks of what to do next, one of Olaf's colleagues attacks him at the tower. Klaus is able to eventually outsmart the man and get him to fall out of the tower, but hold on to Sunny's cage to stop him from falling. Olaf sees what's going on and immediately takes the marriage certificate from Violet as soon as she's through with signing it. As he says they're now legally wedded, Violet tries to tell the audience that Olaf threatened her, but they all think she's making things up. Just then, Olaf confirms that she's telling the truth and that he made her marry him to get her family's fortune. Poe cannot believe this, but Olaf blames him for not listening to the children when they were always telling him. As Olaf brags that the marriage certificate proves that Violet is now his wife, Klaus uses the eye at the tower to burn it. This leaves Olaf without any proof, and before he can do anything, he gets arrested. He is then sentenced to prison and made to face all the challenges he put the kids through. However, he eventually disappears after a jury of his peers overturns his sentence. After a while, Poe takes the kids to their old home to check it for one last time. Violet and Klaus find an old letter from their parents, telling their kids how much they're loved. In the letter, they also mention that there are things their children may find out about them when they die. After reading the letter, the kids also find a spyglass in the envelope and decide to keep it. After this, they head into Poe's car and he starts driving them away as he looks for the next person to be their guardian.